So let us try to create the complete customer CRUD operation. Customer is basically something which can be considered as a resource. So before we actually go ahead, let me just try to create a very simple Java class, which is basically a Pojo class, which is our customer, and we would be having up the private. We can take it along ID and then private string name. Very simple sense. I can add more attributes to it, but that's not required at this point of time. So we are creating up a customer over here. Let's say we are going to have the default constructor as well as the overridden constructor. Which will accept both the parameters. So this is basically a resource, nothing but the Java project class. Now we will be creating a customer controller, and then in the customer controller we will be having a @controller to be defined @request mapping, and we will just say that everything related to the customers will come and call one of the method over here. So let's say since this we are learning over here, we'll be just creating up a static list of customer which will basically hold all our customer information. Array list of customer if you want, and just say that alright, and now we just create that as soon as it gets initialized we will have couple of customer to be added inside it. So 1 comma let's say Johnny we start at new customer 2 comma Tommy, right. So if we'll see over here, the issue is that we need to have up the long key, so we need to define this as this. Now let's say we are going to have a method which will return us the list of customers, which is like GetAll customers, which will not accept anything, and we'll just say return list. We will be annotating this method with request mapping slash, which is basically by default a get method. We do not need to specify that this is my get method over here. So method type, which is basically so that's nothing but the request method. Request method dot get. You don't need to specify explicitly; it will come by default. And then we will see over here that we are actually running up the hello controller over here. Instead of that, let's try to run the app over here. So to have that thing possible, we'll be creating up a new Java class which we'll call as the app. We'll be having up the PSVM, and then we'll just say that spring application dot run app dot class, and if you want to give arguments, you can give it the arguments. We need to do a couple of things over here. We need to enable auto configuration, and very important thing is we need to provide the component scan. So component scan needs to ensure that inside com my company or any of the sub package, if the controllers are defined, then it will go and get the controllers. So to do that, we'll define a package which is called as the controllers. Can give it a controller also rather, and we will have our controllers to be moved to that package. This is all about, even though we are making a sample project, we would like to follow the best practices. Then we will have some model classes whereby the customer will be moved to the model, and we have this app over here which should ideally take care of whatever which we want. Hello controller, I'm just leaving it right now. Ideally we do not need to have this main method available over here. And let's see what happens. So now when this class runs, it basically enable the auto configuration. It does the component scan, which basically ensures that any of these package or these sub packages, if the controllers or other annotations are defined, which is basically a controller and the request mappings are defined, it go ahead and map the resources, go ahead and map the methods with the specific URIs. And when we'll run this, we'll able to come to know that what is happening. So this is putting up the application, starting up the Tomcat, and if you'll see over here, we have slash customers, which is mapped with a get request onto this method, which is get all customers inside that. Once you see this, you are good to go. You can go to the postman and we can actually call localhost 8080 slash customers. I'm sorry, we need to select up the get request over here, and then there is something which is wrong, which we need to understand what is going wrong. So let's look at the hello controller, and then here we need to define the request body. The same time, let's try to produce this. So if you remember, we already have understood that it produces media type dot JSON value. So media type, try to select the Spring framework HTTP dot JSON value, and I believe this is not required. Let's check it out. We will stop the application and we will run it again. Okay, and so let's try to understand what is the error that we are getting. We dispatch back to the handler customers again, says that it is going to dispatch it back to the customer handler again. Check your vResolver, which essentially means that we have something to be fixed. And what to be fixed, let's try to look at the GitHub code which we have shared into the last. So this is our order controller, and then we are actually looking for the request body only. So response body is something which is required. If we don't specify a response body, we are going to have this. So we'll just say @response body, because I think since we are sending up the response, we need to define the response body over here. Just go ahead and then run it again. And we'll go to the Chrome and we'll try to call it again. So if you'll see over here, we are getting up the list of customers, because since it is coming as an array, we can find out that the customers are coming up over here. We don't have still the name which is coming up over here. We need to go and look at it. So this is how we have started creating up a controller. We are going to add up the operations like delete, add, and change the customers parameters into the next sessions.